All right, let's say hello to tonight's guests. One is a master of interior design who's never afraid to make bold decorating decisions.
And the other is a star of stage and screen who's now sharing her life behind the cameras. It's Laurence, Llewelyn-Bowen and Jill Halfpenny.
It's for you.
It's for you.
It's for you.
See, I like this combo immediately. Immediately. We should say National Thank a Teacher Day today. And Laurence, of course, you appreciate this more than most because your mum was a teacher.
My mother was a teacher. My mother-in-law was a teacher. And I think it's instilled in me a tremendous respect for being told off by middle-aged ladies, which I quite enjoy, I have to say. I quite enjoy that.
You've come to the right show.
I know.
Now, Jill, let's talk about your new memoir because, you know, we see a very different side of you in this book. It details your experiences with grief. Now, for those who might not know what happened, tell us a little bit about the story behind the book.
Yeah, so I lost my dad when I was really small, when I was 4. And, you know, it was 1979, it was the Northeast. We weren't, like, talking to therapists, and we kind of just got on with it and we survived. And that in itself had some lasting effects and that I had to deal with. But then in 2017, I lost my partner in a very similar sort of circumstances. And I just felt at that moment that what I really needed to do was just feel all the things that I had never really dealt with when I was younger. And I just really wanted to, like, go through the full experience. And I just instinctively knew that if I was to put it away in a little box, it was just going to get bigger and scarier. So sort of spent the last 7 or 8 years just trying to process everything. And I just feel like I've learned, like, grief is so scary and it's so isolating, and there's a tendency to want to lock yourself away. And some of the things I've learned, I just wanted to put them out there in a book and just kind of, I just wanted to say to anyone that was struggling, look, it's okay, I totally understand, and these are some of the things that I did that helped me. And it's kind of like part self-help as well, just about some of the things I learned.
Yeah, sometimes it's cathartic to get it down on paper.
Yeah, it is.
You know, these two traumatic events, your dad and your partner, are, as you say, quite far apart.
Yeah.
When did you know then that the moment was right to write about both things that have led to where you are today, I suppose?
Do you know what? It was honestly one of those serendipitous conversations. I'm talking to my agent and she knows that I write as well. And she said, you know, have you got anything going on in your head at the moment? And I just found myself going, yeah, it's a book and this is what it'll be about. And then once I'd said it, that was it. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it now. So I kind of do a lot of things in my life by instinct. And I just kind of, as I said it, I thought, well, that must be it then. I must be ready to do it because I'm not keeping it secret anymore.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that idea of kind of, you know, getting it out, putting it out there, because one of the things that really comes across in the book is the way that how important talking is, and that you have to have honest conversations, especially when it comes to kids. You know, as you said, growing up, you didn't talk about your dad, but you made sure to have very open conversations with your son, Harvey.
Yeah, I just really, when my partner died, I just really wanted my son to know that you can be in a lot of pain and you can have a lot of suffering, but you can get through it. I think it's quite an important lesson for a child to see a parent in a lot of pain, in a lot of grief, but also say to them, I will be okay. This will take some time and it might be incremental, how, like, me getting better, but it will be okay. And I just feel like that is part of, like, a really valuable life lesson. I didn't want to hide it away from him. I wanted to be honest and say I'm struggling, but I will be okay. And hopefully he's learnt a lot from that.
Well, you can sometimes humanise the parent for the child, can't it? Instead of them being this superhero.
Definitely.
You talk about your mum having that moment with you. Laurence, we know that you lost your dad at a young age. Does some of what Jill is saying, does it ring true with you?
I think one of the big things is that grief is absolutely completely different from one person to another. I was older, I was 9, and I think by that stage you're in this kind of liminal state where you're moving from being a child. And I don't remember, I mean, one of the things I do remember is actually feeling sort of slightly at sea because I felt I wasn't grieving and I felt I didn't feel sad. But we did come from quite a formal environment. You know, it was quite a formal, sort of stiff upper lippy kind of family. And there was another layer because my mother had been diagnosed with MS as well. And so, you know, as a family unit, we felt very, very vulnerable at that point. So I think you do kind of, you know, we definitely put it in boxes. Yeah. Some of which I unpack and make some very gothic wallpaper out of every now and again.
Yes.
You know, that probably explains some of my more outre schemes. Yes.
Yeah, you know, well, and drive as well. But you know, as Jill was saying, really, I suppose it's also about the fact that, you know, it's all right to move on, to feel happy, to feel other things. And you're now in a new chapter, Jill, with a new partner. It can be tough to kind of open yourself up to that after going through what you've been through. How did you come to terms with that?
Yeah, I think talking to a lot of people, especially when you lose a partner, a romantic relationship, it can sometimes feel like a betrayal if you move on. And it's not. And you're absolutely allowed to be happy again. But I think if you do the processing and do the healing and do the work, then you can go into another relationship and be happy again. But I think if you haven't managed to do that work, there'll always be a part of you somewhere else. So I fortunately feel that I do deserve to be happy, and I do feel happy, and it's really nice to be in love again.
Well, we are so happy that you've moved into that happier phase of your life. Thank you, Jill. Jill's book, A Life Reimagined, is out tomorrow. Yeah,
and of course, tomorrow's a big day, not just for England in the Euros, but also for Laurence, because his new property series is hitting our screens.
Yes, now then, it celebrates homes that take OTT to a whole new level. Before we talk about it, let's have a look.
I am about to take you on a celebratory frolic through the outrageous homes of proud-to-be-different homeowners.
Hey! This is the most extraordinary house.
Oh!
Wow.
This is where it all started and gone completely bonkers.
So get ready to lose your interior inhibitions.
Was there a moment with any of this that you thought we might be going a little bit too far?
No.
Obsessed. It's a really, really joyous show, Jill. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
And to be polite, it sort of celebrates people who dare to be different.
I think this is the big thing, is that, you know, here we are, I think we're all a bit concerned. I mean, what a dull time we're having of it at the moment, and everything seems to be so sort of redacted and a little bit greyish. But actually, thank goodness, our world is still populated by absolute bat poop crazy people that really will do their own thing. Yeah. And what we wanted to do with the show was to not go on a journey with them. It's not about them kind of confronting, you know, where they want to be. They've done it. So we just go around for tea.
Laurence, I think we should start with the Treasure Island themed
Shall
house.
we?
Come on.
Shall we?
Talk us through it.
Well, it's a good story. It's a party barn that was built by a very loose gentleman called Felix Dennis, who'd always had an obsession with Treasure Island. And he threw gazillions at this extraordinary place where some really quite freaky-deaky parties used to happen. But the incarnation we get to is this lovely lady from Ireland called Dawn, who, her and her husband have bought it, and they sort of just don't really care. It's still full of life-size animatronics of Felix Dennis that as you walk past, he goes, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle. And there she is. She's got her sort of furniture and her, you know, lamps with the little sort of frilly, bobbly fringes around them and all that kind of stuff, wandering around with a glass of wine. And this is absolutely her world. And then right in the centre of it, this enormous, kind of incredibly lavish pool, like something out of a Gatsby movie. And I don't think she's ever been in it. I think the first time she was in it was when we put her on a lilo and sent her across it with a glass of champagne.
She floats across the shot. I like that.
And now she hasn't stopped. Now that's all she ever does.
The balloon hatch above the four-poster bed is a bit of a moment where
you
can
should
go
say
into
for a hot air balloon, not for a normal balloon.
Yeah,
no, hot air balloon.
So he could escape. So he could escape on a hot air balloon if he was ever being pursued by goodness knows what.
Now, everyone needs one.
I know, now we're all going, I want one of those.
I'm thinking about where to put mine.
I know, right?
But the thing is, they're not all, you know, multi-million-pound houses. Some look pretty normal from outside, and there's one in particular that I think a lot of our viewers will enjoy seeing because it'll bring back a few memories. This one, which is 70s extravaganza.
Yeah. I mean, didn't we all love this? Well, of course, you lot were far too young. You won't remember the 70s. But I adored every single moment. Estelle, look at her. She's absolutely loving the 70s there. And yes, it's a very conventional-looking house, Victorian villa in Manchester. You go inside, and it is like stepping into a Joan Collins Cinzano advert. You know, all of that kind of slightly brittle glamour. And of course, the 70s was wonderful, but no one had invented conditioner. So, you know, hair was a bit of a questionable experience. But, I mean, Estella was lovely. I mean, amazing. And she's a blogger. She promotes the 70s style. But actually, that house is also about healing. You know, there was a lot going on there which she wanted to unpack a relationship with her father, and actually also a late diagnosis with autism. So these are literal celebrations, because it's people that have done this and feel so much better as a result of doing it. And regardless of estate agents and neighbours and mothers-in-law, you know, there's a lot of people that would disapprove, but they just simply don't care.
They're not thinking of selling it on, are they?
I don't think they ever will be able to.
Jill, I saw you go through a process not dissimilar to this. I mean, not quite that OTT, but you do love the bright colours and the kind of glam accessories. I saw your home made perfect that you did. So that 70s house might some of that might be.
You know what? I'm all for that. I think it's, you know, I think your environment is so important. I think, you know, if it floats your boat, why not? Just do it, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not into the whole minimalism, white, everything's just, you know, I'm like, I want a bit of life.
Yeah. And a bit of texture.
Yeah, a bit of texture.
I mean, definitely not beige in your house.
No.
But can you give us a little taste of what it's like when you step through the front door?
A little peep through the keyhole. Well, I mean, it's a 17th century manor house, so it's got a lot of character to begin with.
Lovely. Is it
but
listed?
Also, it is listed, yeah.
Right.
That's all right. It's all right. Perfectly great relationship with our lovely planners. But because we've also... So my daughter and her family live in one wing now. Jackie is now reduced to what she calls a 2 up, 2 down. But it's a 2 up, 2 down with a ballroom, so I don't think any of us are really that sad. But yeah, I mean, there we are, the Addams family there. But you know, it is all about self-expression, as far as I'm concerned. And now with children, grandchildren, the whole kind of clan growing and increasing, there's so many different personalities that are coming into this. But you're so right. I mean, it's all about being able to lock the outside world away. You know, if it's a grey, horrible world, you want to be somewhere where you are the
where you
star,
feel at home,
where you are completely in control of your environment.
Laurence, we could go on all night about this show,
We could.
but we must say Outrageous Homes with Laurence Llewelyn-Bowen starts tomorrow evening, 10 o'clock on Channel 4.
That's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to our guests.
I'll be back tomorrow with Vernon Kay, and we'll be joined by Jamie Oliver, Pixie Lott and Rob Brydon.
And we've got to say good luck to Scotland in tonight's Euros. You can watch it 8 o'clock over on BBC One. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.